Hey, what's going on guys? Shane here. Today we're talking about 10 bad habits that fighters make. I'm talking about MMA, boxing, kickboxing, these all pertain. Now here's the most important part of this video. These bad habits form in the gym. What you do in training is what you're going to do in the fight. So you have to be honest with yourself. Are you making any of these mistakes? Let's take a look at the first one. Alright guys, let's hop right into it. So the first one is something that you're taught on day one of boxing, and it's keeping the opposite side hand up when we throw our punches. This is too low, even if it's resting on my chin, because if someone throws a left hook when I jab, it's still going to turn my head. It's still going to tweak my jaw, right? I can still get knocked out here. You have to keep your hand up. And what I like thinking about is going fingertips to the eyebrow. So if I throw a left jab, my right hand is high protecting. If I throw a right straight, my left hand is high protected. Left hook, overhand right, uppercuts. Whatever punch I'm throwing, the opposite side hand is up. Now think about it. If your eyes are closed, how can you tell if your opposite hand is up? Only with your sense of touch. So that's a great habit to form here. Every time you throw a punch, make sure the opposite hand is touching the eyebrow. When you're working the heavy bag, when you're shadowboxing, when you're hitting mitts, no matter what, make sure your shields are high. Now, my hand is protecting my head, my elbow is also protecting the body too. So this isn't good, right? This doesn't make any sense because we can get hit with a left hook to the body now. So elbow is right underneath the hand. When I throw my shots, head's protected, body's protected, good to go. Gotta keep your shields high, gotta keep your friggin' hands up. The next one is very similar. It's protecting our vulnerable areas, but when people throw punches, they tend to lift their chin when they do it. I don't know if they feel like they get more reach or what, but you have to keep your chin tucked. And most people are like, I know to keep my chin tucked. And they're like this, and then as soon as they throw a punch, their chin comes up. And a great way to develop a good habit is to use a racquetball or a tennis ball, and you're just gonna sit it underneath of your chin. You're gonna do this when you're shadowboxing. You're gonna do this when you're working the heavy bag, and it forces you to make sure that your chin stays tucked even when you're throwing punches. Because if I lift my chin when I do it, the ball drops, I get caught, I get knocked out. That's no good. So make sure that your chin stays tucked. This next one tends to happen when we get a little emotional. When we over-focus on power, we start to telegraph, we start to load up our shots. And it could be subtle, it could be that. May not even noticed it, but there was a telegraph there. I pulled my right hand back before I threw it. I like thinking, just go forward, just get directly there. Don't pull back, right? If I'm trying to get from A to B, why would I go back here first and then throw? And it may feel like I said, that you have less power in your shots, but you'll notice that you're popping heads back, that you're landing more of your punches if you just throw it right from there. Don't load it up. Don't give them any tell. Don't telegraph your shots. This is one that's going to take weeks, months, if not a year or so before you stop doing it. But you really just need to focus on it. You'll notice that the best fighters of all time have very little tell in their shots, no telegraphing. So give it a shot, start practicing now, and get rid of that loading up or winding up before you throw your punches. Okay, the next one is leaning or overextending. And you have to understand that this is some fighters' entire strategy. They want you to lean into shots so that they can counter you. So don't fall into their game. It's usually an issue of distance and footwork. Because if I'm too far away to hit the bag, some people may think, well, if I just hinge at the hips and lean forward, now I can hit it. That's going to work on a heavy bag, but the heavy bag doesn't move much, and it doesn't counter. But if I'm doing this against a person, they may pull, they may slip, and now I'm in a really bad spot. My chin is exposed, I'm off balance, it's going to take time and energy to come back, right? So you can't do that in a fight. What you do instead is take a step, and now my head is over my hips, my weight is evenly distributed in each leg. That's a much better position to be in. So make sure that you're moving your feet instead of leaning into your shots. The next one is super important, and we see this problem in the later rounds when people get a little fatigued or a little tired, and it's having a poor retraction on our punch, looping the shot. When I punch, I gotta go A to B, and I gotta pull it right back B to A. It's gotta be quick too, because every time we throw a punch, our head and our body is exposed. This is when we're vulnerable. We gotta pull it back to guard where we're protected. Start to focus on your retraction. You'll notice that your punches are quicker, and that your defense is tighter, and that you're getting hit less. But you have to also practice this, not just on the heavy bag, because the heavy bag kind of bounces our shots back. You got to do this in shadowboxing where we don't have any reciprocation, right? We throw the shot and we got to pull it right back. So whether it's a single punch or combos, we have to make sure that we're pulling our hands right back to guard. Number 6, no exit strategy. I talk about the exit strategy a lot. What is that? There's a couple of different options, but it's ultimately what do we do after we land our combo. So let's say any combo it could be a single punch or it could be a 4-punch combo. So let's go jab, cross, hook, cross. A lot of people will do this on the heavy bag and then they go here. What's wrong with that? If I do that in a fight, what happens after I throw punches? They counter. And I'm just gonna stand here and be a heavy bag and get hit? No, we gotta have some sort of exit. So let's give you some options. I can go jab, cross, hook, cross. This is long range. Maybe I just want to disengage. So I step back and I just flick a jab. I don't even try to hit him. I just flick it out there to keep him at bay, to keep him blinking. That's all. The next one could be create an angle. So I go jab, cross, hook, cross. Maybe I sit down and step out to my right now. I go underneath of left hook. I create an angle, boom. And then I can work another combo from there. Or again, I can disengage and jab out. Another one could be clinching. Jab, cross, hook, cross. Maybe he's jamming me up. Maybe whatever. It's just a little bit closer than I wanted and I'm right here. I'm going to try to get a good position in the clinch. I'm going to go inside. I'm going to get bicep, tricep control. And I'm going to wait for the ref to break it up. If it's boxing, if it's Muay Thai, I start working my elbows and knees. If it's MMA, I start working the takedown. But have some sort of exit strategy planned when you finish your combo. Number 7. We don't need the heavy bag. This is more footwork, more defensive. And it's backing straight up in a straight line. And a lot of people do this because they feel like it's the quickest way to get away from danger. You gotta create an angle. A good rule of thumb is no more than 2 steps straight back and then either left or right, okay? So if I'm backing up from someone, 1, 2, I gotta start creating an angle. Because what's gonna happen? Someone who's moving forward is gonna move a lot faster than someone who's moving backwards, right? Or I'm gonna hit my back against the cage or against the ropes. I don't want to be there, right? So back up 1, on the second step, I create an angle to my left, or I just start to circle out to my right. Or I step back in with a shot, 1, 2, and I have them run into my punch. So don't back up straight back more than 2 steps. Create an angle or step back in and engage. Another one that tends to happen when we get emotional is we hold our breath when we throw our punches, or we just completely forget to pace ourselves. If I throw 100% power from the very start, the only thing that's going to happen is my endurance, my pace is going to go down, okay? So this is for a fight, this is for training. You got to pace yourself, and you got to make sure that you're breathing. So pay attention. Make sure, this is why fighters do the noise when they throw the punches. That's a reminder that I gotta exhale on my shots, right? And it creates this apparatus by putting your tongue against the roof of your mouth so that you're not exhaling all of your air on a single jab, right? Just a little bit. Then I reset. I need more air. Okay, so make sure that you're breathing. Don't hold your breath on your shots, and don't throw at 100% power all the time. All right, this next one is easier said than done, but to me, it's the single most important factor for fighters, and it's keeping your eyes open, especially when the punches start flying. And the best way that we can form this habit is to make sure that our eyes are open when we're training. A lot of people, and they don't realize that they're doing it, but you may have to record yourself, notice that close your eyes when you throw a shot, even if it's just a quick blink, where you go, that's no good. I've had this problem, I still to this day have this problem, and I have to consciously think about it when I'm throwing my shots. If you're blinking, that's a split second that you're not seeing what's happening, where they're going. You can't pick up on cues. So there's different defensive drills that you can work on so that you can block and keep your eyes open, but it's also important that when you're working the heavy bag, when you're shadowboxing, when you're throwing punches, that your eyes are open the entire time. Okay, number 10 is having a lead lazy hand defense. We talked about just keeping the opposite hand up and throwing punches, but we also tend to do this and be here. A jab can easily come right over top of this punch. A cross can easily come right over top. So instead of keeping it down here, keep it up here. It's a minor difference, but it's gonna make a world of difference, okay? So what I like doing is engaging my lat muscle a little bit more so I can use this shield so that when they hit my arm, I'm not punching myself in the face, it's a little bit reinforced. Okay, I can sway back and forth, so it makes it more difficult for them to time whether they're coming in between my guard or around my guard. But having a strong lead arm defense can really shut down not just the right hand, but all punches from a fighter. So start working that now. Having this hand up high, again, I like to touch my eyebrow to make sure that that hand is up. From there, you can work your jab, you can work your hooks, but have a good lead arm defense. Bonus tip, a bad habit that fighters have is they coast through their workouts. They don't go at 100%. It's more maintenance training than it is evolving and getting better and pushing yourself to improve every time you're in the gym. Yeah, there's gonna be times that you're super sore and you go in there and that's good enough, but how often are you doing that? or rather, how often are you improving? Are you really pushing yourself to the next level, right? When you're hitting the heavy bag, or if you're training by yourself, you're shadowboxing, even if you're sparring, are you doing it just to go through the motions? Or afterwards, are you proud of yourself and you feel like you've done something that you've never done before? Maybe you landed a couple more shots. Maybe you landed a technique that you've been working on. So always, always, always try to improve. Don't just maintain. Always get better. All right, guys, there you have it. 10 of the most common bad habits that we see amongst fighters. Again, I just want to stress, what you do in the gym is what you're going to do in the fight. We're creatures of habit. So you have to be strict with yourself. You have to be disciplined and make sure that you're forming good habits. Until next time, be sure to subscribe to get the fight tips before your opponent does. Until then, I'm Shane with Fight Tips for the Underdogs.